Well, Western Mass News is your school authority. Statewide, the MCAS test results declined, especially in math, compared to previous years.
Well, I took a look at the results and talked to officials about whether the test should be revised and how they plan to address those learning gaps. The MCAS results this year showed more students had gaps in math and English language arts compared to before the COVID-19 pandemic. The state did not administer MCAS tests in spring of 2020, so the most recent year to compare with this year's scores is 2019. In 2021, 46% of students in grades 3 through 8 scored meeting expectations or higher in English language arts, while 33% scored the same in math. Both show a drop compared to 2019, when 52% of students scored meeting expectations or higher in ELA and 49% met expectations in math.
The results were completely predictable. What our students were experiencing during the pandemic was the greatest loss.
According to the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the number of students meeting expectations locally in both English and math went down from 2019. In Chicopee, 28% of students in grades 3 through 8 scored a meeting expectations in English language arts, while 18% scored the same in math. In 2019, 37% of students met expectations in both ELA and math. Northampton schools showed better results, with 42% of students scoring meeting expectations in ELA and 27% scoring the same in math. In 2019, 45% of students met expectations in ELA and 39% in math, slightly below the state average.
It's really much more difficult to replicate the types of tasks that students do in a math lesson in a remote environment than it is for an English language arts lesson.
Now school officials are speaking out about the standardized test.
I think it is a piece to providing the entire picture of whether or not the student has made progress, and shouldn't necessarily be the sole indicator of whether or not a student has made progress.
Some are calling for changes.
I think it could be much shorter than it is. I think it could be done in a way that is less burdensome for students and administrators, and that allows teachers to spend more of their time focused on covering content instead of preparing students for the test.
The president of the Massachusetts Teachers Association wants to see the MCAS eliminated.
They provide a limited measure of academic achievement, and many students who perform well in school don't actually perform well on standardized testing.
She says they are working with state officials to find different tools to measure students' progress. But not everyone agrees. We reached out to the executive director of the Massachusetts Business Alliance Education, Ed Lambert, who says the MCAS is a vital tool for measuring student success.
It really has been an important tool in terms of a call to action for how we need to move going forward to support students and accelerate their learning.
And everyone we talk to agrees changes are welcome.
We've got to get students back on track. We can't lose this generation of students because they've had their education so disrupted by this pandemic.
And stay tuned next week for part 3 of our School Authorities series as we look at teacher retention rates and see if the pandemic has impacted those numbers.